Welcome to Sponsorship Mode. This episode is sponsored and brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. It is actually how we make our podcasts here on Panic at the Podcast. So let me explain real quick to you guys what Anchor is exactly. It's free, for one, always great. There's creation tools in the app itself that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more places. Seriously, guys, it is so easy to use and very user-friendly. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership while using Anchor. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So feel free to go and download the free app Anchor or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started. Thank you again, Anchor, for sponsoring this podcast.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Megan.
And I'm Michaela. And it's time.
And it's time to panic
at
the podcast.
Woo woo! We're trying to be an air horn.
You did good.
Thanks.
You know, I wouldn't have known the difference.
I'm great at sound effects. Anyways, welcome to this week's podcast, you guys. Today, what's our topic, Megan?
MK Ultra.
It's not like you're just saying, okay. Like, yep, okay.
MK Ultra.
MK
Like,
Ultra.
I'm agreeing to something, but like,
yeah,
I really want
Ultra
or something.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, is that gonna be like the new word for like the kids? You know, like we had like dope and like sick and like, bro, that's chill. You know, like when I was in high school, like maybe ultra will be the next one.
I forgot about chill. I used to say that so much.
I still say it. I'm always like, bro, that's chill. I'm like, bro, you're almost 27 and you need to stop sounding like that because people are gonna think you're a stoner. So
Probably.
I'm not. Don't worry, Mom. I'm not a stoner.
Don't worry.
Thank
Mom.
you.
Oh gosh.
Don't do drugs.
MK Ultra. Okay? Yeah, don't do drugs. Kids, say no. Just say no.
Okay. Ultra.
Ultra.
Anyways.
So what is MK Ultra, Megan?
Okay, MK Ultra is this really, really cool thing that was the CIA mind control program. AKA not cool at all.
That legit happened.
Kind of horrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go on, like, at the very beginning of this. For anyone who has never heard of MK Ultra, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is legit history. United States history. Mm-hmm. It happened. The CIA records were released and made public. And yikes.
Yeah, dude. And they're not hard to
all
find.
I have to say about it. No, they're not hard to find at all.
Yeah. If you know how to find any like declassified documents, you can find these. They're super easy to find.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot for reasons that you guys will see or hear here in a couple minutes. The thing's gonna be an hour long. So because, in a few minutes.
Right.
But
the wow, words are really hard suddenly.
Yeah.
MK Ultra itself is not a conspiracy. However, there are conspiracies that involve MK Ultra. If that makes sense, it should. If it doesn't, it should make sense by the end of this podcast. Hopefully, if we do a good job.
Hopefully, yes.
So
that said, a lot of these things that I'm going to be talking about, I don't have physical proof that they're true. So don't take me at my word. But this is all stuff that I could find
allegedly
on the internet because it's so reputable. But this is true. So,
yeah.
All of this to say, this is something that did happen, but all of my facts that I'm finding may not be facts. Or they may be a little different than the truth because we really don't have that much information. So, precursor to all of the cool things, not so cool things that we're going to get into. If you've not seen the movie American Ultra, you should check it out. If you like comedies that are they're called action comedies, if you like the zombie world, you're going to love this. So great movie. Kind of talks about this a little bit. Kind of about it a little bit. Kind of is about it. So, and Michaela, you haven't seen it. Is that right?
To watch it.
You should watch it because it
That's
has
right.
Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart in it, and a couple of other that you see in there. Oh my god! There's a guy that looks just like Mayhem, and I'm like, bruh. Okay, that's cool.
He looks like who?
Like, perfect. So, Mayhem? Please tell me you know who Mayhem is from the commercials.
No, I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay. Mayhem. I think it's like Geico. I'm looking really quick.
Oh, he's in the car?
Yeah, Allstate.
Maybe it's Allstate.
Allstate. Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a black suit, tie, and everything, and his face is always all messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, great guy.
He's like
but there's a guy in there that looks like him. Yeah. Kind of how I see myself, but it's fine.
So American Ultra is based loosely on MK Ultra.
Yeah. And so like none of it's fact, but it is kind of like if you're someone who enjoys watching movies about things, it's a great one to check out. So
what if I'm someone who enjoys watching movies that aren't about things?
Then I would suggest you still watch it because it's a great movie.
Okay.
But it is rated R for violence and gore and blah, 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 blah. I don't have the Wikipedia pulled up or the Rotten Tomatoes or the IMDb pulled up, but don't watch it with your kids. Mom, Dad, don't watch it. The end.
Hide your kids. Hide your parents.
Hide your wife if she doesn't like violent stuff.
Right.
I think Danny watched it with me, though, and I think she enjoyed it, but it could have been somebody else that I made watch it. Like, no, I don't think it was busy.
Oh.
Somebody, one of our friends, somebody that you and I both know watched it with me, but I feel like it was Danny. She has to watch things because she's married to me. So anyways.
That's how that works usually.
To get into the whole actual thing, it also had code names, which I didn't know. I didn't
realize that.
Project Bluebird and get this one, Project Artichoke.
Wait, okay, I've heard of Project Bluebird.
Mm-hmm.
Artichoke, however, that's a new one for me. Never heard of it or anywhere. I've never heard of Project Artichoke.
Not gonna lie, it made me giggle when I read it. I was like, it's not really like a spicy fruit that you'd be or vegetable that you'd be picking. Like it's like not a spicy food.
Really weird.
Who decided like a bluebird? Bluebirds are cool. They're pretty. I think they sing. I don't know. But like artichokes? I don't even know how to cook an artichoke.
I know that they're yummy in spinach dip.
They are. You got me there. You got me freaking there. Okay. So MK Ultra is this kind of horrible thing that happened. Michaela, you have notes in Google Drive if you want to follow along, but I'm going to be kind of all over the place. So it was the code name for a program of experiments on both human and animal subjects that were both designed and I can't read my word here, but I think I wrote undertaken or something by the CIA, a lot of which were pretty dang illegal. So.
Oh, yeah, 100,000%. Also, this happened, just to give everyone a time frame, this happened around the time of the Cold War. So really not that long ago.
Like 1953 was when it was officially started.
Yeah, pretty recent history, which is terrifying, honestly.
Scary. Yeah.
So what kind of experiments were they doing?
So these experiments included, but are not only these following things: administering high doses of psychoactive drugs, especially LSD or other chemicals. They didn't list what chemicals, so have fun with that one. Electroshocks, but not small electroshocks. When I was reading further into this, there were electroshock therapy is something that has been common, and it is common now, and for different things. It can be a very good therapy. I just went and got electroshocks in my back and neck, which is very helpful, but not like these people got it. They got it at 20 times the number, like per like voltage or whatever, that you would give a high dose to like a regular person getting treatment. So 20 times what they were giving. Not enough to kill them usually, but it was also not like a you go in and you sit for 12 minutes kind of thing. It was like a you go in and you sit for days.
That's like torture, literal torture.
Literally, yeah. And they would be out for all of this. Like they would have drugged them on whatever drug concoction they decided they were going to mess with at that time. But that doesn't... Making the person be unconscious doesn't make what you're doing ethical.
Right. And these people didn't have they didn't get permission. That like there was no consent given in most cases. From what I've seen, they just kind of took people randomly.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that in a little bit. Like who was involved in this. There was also hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, and then the final one that was listed was many other forms of torture. So
who knows?
Very broad, you know. And there was a lot of, I would look on a lot of different like websites and stuff, and they all ended with some variation of that, of like, and they did other horrible things to these people, but we don't want to say what they are. It's kind of like, oh, cool, thanks.
What gets worse than that, you know? Like,
well, so tangent for a second. They were, one of the things I found was saying that one of the first like whistleblowers about all of this said that it was very similar to what they had also seen Nazis doing back in like their
in World War II
experiments happening in like the camps and stuff. Said it was very similar to that.
Yeah, I have heard that. I've also heard, and I don't know how true this is, but that it was speculated that a lot of the Nazi like scientists and things that were doing those experiments during World War II came over to the US to continue those experiments and quote research, human experimentation and research. So
such ethical research that's happening.
Right. So if that's true, I could see how they were like how that would have happened. Like they would have been using Nazi stuff because the Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
again, allegedly, if that's true, it makes sense.
I've heard that in so many different realms though. Like not only from the conspiracy theory people. Like which is real. I watched something recently. Sorry, if you can hear anything, I'm plugging in my laptop because I was stupid again. I did this like 4 episodes ago. I'm doing it again. I forgot to plug it in. Carrying my laptop and everything balanced precariously on it so I can go get my charger. But now I can breathe. That talked specifically about that. How all of these people came here and then like the name changes that they went through in order to like no longer be suspected of, you know, being who they are and all those things. So.
Well, that is a fact. Some Nazis did flee and do that. A lot of them went to like places in South America, Argentina. Where's another one? I feel like Argentina was, Buenos Aires is like a big place that a lot of them fled to, but like that's a fact. But Did those scientists come to America and continue experimentation? That I don't know. But again, I'm not going to say it didn't happen because it very possibly could have. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what the thing I was watching was saying was like, they did. So it was kind of like, I don't know. I'm interested. I would be intrigued to see like the receipts, you know, like how'd you get to this conclusion? But possible, you know, sneaky people doing horrible things. So all of these things took place over one. I didn't realize that it was not only the US, it was also happening largely in Canada, at one specific mental institution, which we're going to get into in a minute. But it also happened at colleges and universities, hospitals, prisons, pharmaceutical companies, and then off of the street in, I think, both LA and New York. And we'll get into that in a minute as well. So, but 80 institutions. And a lot of them had no idea what was happening inside of their own institution. Like they didn't have these things.
Wow. Of course not. Okay, so
Insane,
I just did a really quick Google search about Nazis coming to America, and from what I'm seeing, like the SmithsonianMag.com, they have an article that literally says why the U.S. government brought Nazi scientists to America after World War II. Because the more that we talked about that, I was like, wait, I feel like this was a fact that I should know that legitimately happened. And just from a quick Google search, I feel like my sister, if she's going to listen to this, my sister is she's a teacher. She's going to be like, Michaela, you should know this, that this was a thing. And she's probably right. I should know this. But yeah, this apparently did happen. Nazi scientists did come to America after World War II. Now, were they doing those experiments? So that's the part I will still say, don't know. But from what I'm reading, it's called Operation Paperclip, which was part of that. Mm-hmm. So we should maybe look into that at some point to talk about that, because that could be interesting.
We should. The movie that I watched, it wasn't about that, but they talked about that in relation to something else, and they specifically referenced Operation Paperclip. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know. We should. I have another one to tell you about that we need to talk about too, which I'm really excited about. It'd be kind of a funner. I don't want to say fun. I don't ever want to say fun in relation to these. But you know what I mean? An interesting one. So, anyways, I think it's crazy. Tamara, if you know why they came here, you know where to find me. So, to do so, please. I mean, I'm curious.
I'm curious. Anyways, sorry about that interruption, but I just had to input that.
So
we were talking about.
No, that's what we do. We have interruptions.
Where were we?
We were talking about how they used these organizations a lot of times without the like top officials of the companies knowing. So I think it's pretty common for like companies to send somebody in to do something or whatever, and maybe not like your ground floor staff know, but your upper staff know, you know, kind of like a, hey, we're going to just see how everybody's doing. We're going to send somebody in new or whatever. But a lot of times, even like the highest up didn't know, which to me seems like sketchy.
How?
As heck,
yeah. You know? My question then is, how were they able to get in?
I'm sure that it was something like, I don't know. I don't even know. So these things did not become like well known until like the 70s or 80s. And they finished, like they were done. They got smaller in 64 and then again in 67 and then completely ended in 1973. But they didn't come out for a long time. 1975, 2 years after they quit, that it came out. But people were not able to get a lot of information because in 1973, the CIA director, Richard Helms, ordered that all documents, all files, anything having to do with MK Ultra was destroyed. So the only things really remaining there's a few. Actually, there's quite a few, but they're like financial documents, and then like a few like random papers, but there isn't like a solid paper trail to follow, so a lot of information is just lost. So what people have been doing is going through and talking to survivors and hearing like what they have to say, and like finding like journals that they had afterwards, or talking to friends and family that have heard like stories and things to kind of piece together like the things that happened there. Because ultimately they'll never know everything now.
Yeah. So it's really crazy to me though that the CIA could just be like, yeah, we had this really secretive operation where like the public's gonna know about it, but we're gonna destroy all of the files and information about it, so no one can actually know what we were doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually crazy to me that they can do that. I mean, I guess it makes sense because they're not technically federal CIA, right? But I don't know. The CIA is a weird thing to me.
The CIA is scary because of all of the things that come out that are like this, that people had no idea were happening,
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing right now that we don't know about? What did you do that we have no idea about at all?
I was saying that my understanding of the CIA and the FBI is a little confuddled. That's the word I'm going to use. Because I don't know, they're different, but they're very similar. But I feel like the FBI is it's more law enforcement for sure, but it's more funded by the government, isn't it?
I think that they're both like completely government funded, aren't they?
I don't know. I thought the CIA for some reason had like private funding, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm going to look into that because I feel like that's also something that I should know.
Yeah, I'm curious.
So sorry, guys. We just had a technological issue, but we are back and we're gonna try and pick up from where we left off. So if there's a disconnect talking about, we apologize. That's the reason.
Yep. I'm looking into what the difference between the CIA and the FBI are. Did you know that the CIA didn't start until 1947? So they only started like 6 years before they decided to start torturing people. So it's pretty new. Right. They've just always been like this.
But yeah.
I mean, that's what they were doing.
Yeah, I did know that they were like newer, more recent.
Okay, they have no law enforcement function. It's mostly to focus on overseas intelligence gathering with only limited domestic intelligence collection. It's not limited. The CIA is the only agency with authorized
authorization?
With authorized for covert action is what it says. But they're the only ones. Let's just, whatever. We're not going to talk about their grammar. The FBI, on the other hand, protects the U.S. from terrorist attacks. They protect the U.S. against foreign intelligence operations and espionage, against cyber-based attacks and high technology crimes, and combat public corruption at all levels.
All levels?
So they should be going after the CIA.
Right, that's why I said all levels. Oh, gosh.
So, anyways. I'm not saying that the CIA or the FBI is bad right now. I'm sure they have their good things, but right now we're talking about the bad things that the CIA did, so I'm a little biased. So,
right.
So, the CIA, horrible place, horrible people. Not all of them. But some of them are not good if they're doing this.
There's bad eggs in every bunch, but
your bad eggs shouldn't get to the top. You know?
Yeah, and in this case, raw bad eggs. Rotten to the core.
Yep. real stinky if you drop them. So, okay, so their whole goal was to basically break down someone's mind and then be able to rebuild them into basically whatever they wanted them to be.
Right. Mind control.
I mean,
literal mind control.
Literally being able to just make some robots into whoever they wanted them to be, which is horrible. Horrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason that they were doing this, or so they claim, is that they thought the Soviet already had this technology or ability.
Yeah. So the US is this thing that they always have to be better than everyone at everything. And eventually you just got to look at them and be like, okay, bruh, like.
But at what cost?
We have like a bigger military than I think most places do. And like, we had nukes. We got some really bad skeletons in our closet. Like, when are we going to stop? Like, when are we going to chill out a little? Like, I'm all for being able to protect your country and everything, but like, at some point, it's kind of like a contest of who has the bigger biceps, and like, we just keep winning, you know? It's like, when is it not fun anymore?
I think like the big thing is like that, like we feel as like the United States that, or any country really, you have to be the most advanced and able to accurately and most effectively protect your territory, your people, whatever. But like at a certain point, I feel like it just gets out of hand, because then you're just creating these types of programs like this mind control thing.
You've decided that to protect your people, you're going to break them and create them into something that you want.
Right. Yikes.
And at what point is that like terrorism in itself, really? Because you're like, yeah, okay, like I'm going to sacrifice whoever I want. Not like somebody who signed up for this. I'm going to just pick some Joe Blow off the street and I'm going to do this. You know?
Which is what they did. Yeah.
Exactly. And we can talk about that now. One of the things, or some of the things that they would do, which was called like Operation Nightshade or something like that, you know, like a real sexy name. They would send prostitutes to lure men. Their goal was to get like men that had some kind of secret into hotel rooms where they would drug them with various drugs. Doesn't say which ones, but LSD is included because LSD was like the drug to do.
That was the most used one that we know of.
Yeah. They thought that it had a correlation with like being a truth serum. I mean, I've heard that people see like dragons and stuff. So
maybe dragons are true. Truth, part of truth.
I'm making like the Bailey Sarian face at no camera right now of like, you guys are stupid, you know?
Okay. I was watching her right before we started recording, so that's very funny to me.
I need to watch hers for this week. I haven't watched it yet, and I haven't finished the one for last week yet, but I'm excited too. Anyways, so they would drug them and then try and get them to admit to doing scandalous things. And it was Operation Midnight. Sorry. Midnight Climax. Not Midnight. Midnight Climax. I had like an extra space in there for some reason. So I thought it was not included. But no, that was the name. Why was that necessary? I have no idea.
Was it maybe to like get dirt on them so like they could further?
That was included. So they would try and get people who had something that they could hold over them.
Yeah.
Or like secrets that they shouldn't know or something like that ultimately was going to be bad for the CIA for people to get out, or the FBI or whoever. And they would record it. George White, who's somebody big in the FBI, he was like really big with this whole thing. He would tape these encounters through like one-way mirror or whatever, when you can see through one way but the other people just see a mirror, whatever that's called. I think it's one way.
It's called a two-way. It's called a two-way mirror.
And then they would
anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then they would use that to blackmail anyone who they wanted to that was involved with this process.
Wow.
I mean, if you're hitting a prostitute, you're not a good person. You're a little desperate, you know? But blackmail from the CIA? It should just be like blackmail from like your wife or something, you know? But whatever. So he said, this guy who was doing all these recordings of the men who were hooking up with the prostitutes, said that he got into the spy business. He, got into the CIA business because, and this is so horrible. Where else, this is a direct quote, where else could a red-blooded American lie, kill, cheat, steal, rape, and pillage with a sanction of the all-highest?
Wow, what a piece of dirt.
Excuse me. Those are the kind of people that are running this. So, also, I feel like there's just like a lot of like things that I have to, like a lot of situations I have to talk about with you guys. So there's that one. What the heck? A lot of these people who went through this had absolutely no idea that this was going to be happening. And they also, to me, this is like the worst. They used mental patients. So people who, there was let me find it. I have a name here somewhere. Allen Institute of something in Canada. His name was Dr. Cameron. He did a bunch of different experiments that initially he was using to try and treat, schizophrenia, I believe. I could be wrong on that. That he was not having any success with. And the guy who was running MK Ultra heard about what he was doing and was kind of like, hey, I'm interested. And so he sent information over and was like, hey, try it on these people. And so Allen Memorial Institute, which was a mental hospital, he would run these experiments on the patients there without them knowing or giving any consent. Their families didn't know. Whoever was like, supposed to be signing documents for them had no idea that these treatments were happening. And he was just running them for giggles to try and part of me wants to believe that he was trying to help them, right? But I feel like at something like this, like that's no longer trying to help somebody, and that's somebody who's already like having such a hard time, and like they reached out for help, and then you're gonna go and torture them. Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. I just did a quick Google on Allen Memorial Institute, which is in Canada. So that's one of the places that you're talking about. But this man was a psychiatrist.
Like he ran the institute.
And if you look on his, whenever you Google something, there's like information that sometimes pops up on the right-hand side, and it gives you like born, died, fields, education, who they're married to, kind of thing. So under fields for him, psychiatry, obviously, and then brainwashing.
Oh. Well, he wasn't successful. So
yeah.
In his brainwashing attempts. So let's just talk about this a little bit. So this was actually the largest place that unsuspecting people were tried. It was tried on, was in this institute. He ran the institute weirdly until about 2 years before he died. And then right at that 2-year mark when he left, he suddenly fled Canada kind of out of nowhere. And he was an American in Canada operating this thing, which was just kind of just struck me as just a little off. But I mean, you never know why somebody ends up where they are. So, he would do these, or a lot of these, not all of them, the treatments in an adjacent building that used to be a stable, which was just kind of like, okay, why are we not doing it in the regular building? But whatever. Maybe they ran out of room, I guess. I don't know. Or he didn't want people to find him. And he would always photograph the subjects before and after the treatment. I don't know what he was hoping to see change. It's not like it was like a physical. It's not like it was a surgery, hopefully, So, they very often would be drugged by various different drugs and chemical agents and whatever they were deciding to try. They were not told that they would be given LSD, and very, very often, they would be completely terrified about what they were seeing because they had no idea that they just taken like a drug that messes with your mind like that.
They didn't know that they were being drugged, so of course they just felt like they were either going crazy, one, or two, like the world was collapsing around them. I'm sure they had really bad trips,
And it was never like used as like a recreational thing. It was like okay, we're going to keep them on LSD for the next 30 days. And that was all we're going to give them. Like, we'll give them enough food to keep them alive, but nothing else. And we're going to just watch. And so that is a long time. A lot of people would report like memory loss and like lots of different like mental complications later on and physical complications later on after these things. And after they kind of have like talked about it, they're like, no, this isn't normal to like have such a hard time remembering even current things. It's not like they only forgot like the things that are happening then, which is probably merciful, but they're also, just so many drugs are bad. Okay. They're bad.
Right. Yeah. Especially when given to you unwillingly. Makes it even worse.
And for an extended period of time, like, geez. His like favorite treatment, I guess you could call it, would be depatterning, which the whole goal was to like basically make them, it was to remove any sick behavior, sick in air quotes, leaving only the healthy air quotes behavior behind. So trying to like make it so that they would kind of remember who they were, sort of like they would remember their name. They wouldn't remember how old they were. They wouldn't remember anything really about their lives. Just a couple facts about themselves, but nothing else really. And even as far as like where they were at that moment. And to do this, he would drug them, keep them sleeping for days, however long the treatment lasted for, thank God. And then this is when he would do the electroshock treatment, that was 20 times stronger than any treatment found today.
Wow.
So I just got treatment on my back, an electric shock. I don't know exactly how he was performing these, right? But I just went and got mine done on my back and my neck. And I know I was not close to the strongest, but it was 12 minutes, I think, for my thing today. And I couldn't imagine having it on for like 30, let alone days stronger than that. Like, that wasn't it.
I can't even,
so they would do this for days and days and days and days. And then sometimes they would be done there. Sometimes it would continue and he would keep them asleep. He would lock them in a room. And I guess they didn't have to be locked in a room if they were asleep, but they were in a room. And he would play tapes of different things like 24/7. Like some of the examples given were like, your mother never loved you. And that would just play on a loop over and over and over again. And then other things people don't really remember. Just a second.
Oh,
my allergies have been really bad. I'm sorry. I didn't get any warning. I'm so sorry.
What happens? We all need
it. So sometimes it would happen in combination, and sometimes those would happen separately. And the tapes were all different, so everybody would have something different that was said, but that itself could last up to 30 days generally.
Oh my
gosh. Were like lost themselves so much that they were basically brought back to being an infant. So you have full-grown humans who have lost the mental capacity and the memories and the anything that they can't even remember how to go to the bathroom or eat.
Yeah. So I've heard about that. This woman I know, not I know, but I've read about her. She was one of the victims of MK Ultra, and she was in one of the mental institutions. Actually, I wonder if she was in the one you were talking about. Let me do a quick Google search while I tell you about her. But she
most
had
of them were
therapy.
in this one. This is like the biggest one.
That's probably where she was. Then I'm Googling. But she did the electric shock therapy or whatever, or it was done to her, and she was so affected that she was pretty much left like in a vegetable-like state by the end of it.
Yeah.
And the sad part is she was just in there for like a mild case of depression, and then like her entire life, was ripped from her. Yeah, that's where she was.
Yeah.
Allen Memorial Institute. Her name's Phyllis Goldberg.
Yeah. I think I watched YouTube videos of at least a woman whose story sounds very similar. I don't remember what her name was.
She just died.
It's just so sad.
In 2011. Yeah.
Oh, sad. Oh, it's just a mess. Like, I don't understand. So some people have volunteered for this. One of them was James Whitey Bulger. He was a convicted murderer on several counts. Kind of like a gangster dude. He volunteered for a shortened sentence, I believe. They kind of like worked out a deal, I guess. He said, "We experienced horrible periods of living nightmares and even blood coming out of the walls. Guys turning into skeletons in front of me. I saw a camera change into a head of a dog. I felt like I was going insane." He kind of journaled his experience, but it just sounds absolutely horrific. Like, geez. And he volunteered for it.
Yikes. It's also really manipulative of them to offer lesser prison sentences to like convicts if they were to participate willingly. And human experimentation is really messed up. Because of course they're gonna say like, yeah, I'll do it for a lesser sentence, not knowing that they're literally about to be tortured.
Yeah.
Like, craziness.
Yeah, it just doesn't even make sense. I just don't understand how people can do that to people, you know?
Yeah, I know. Same. I truthfully don't know.
Yeah, it's just insane. So we cut out just a little bit, it sounds like, so we're going to get back into this. We're just talking about one of the experiments, or some of the experiments happened at a rehab center. There was kind of like a jail/rehab center is what it sounded like, in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like, the fact that they would do it at mental institutions or mental hospitals, whatever is like the correct thing to call them. And then like rehab centers is like so crappy to me, because those are mostly people that are looking for help, you know? And then they're like, I'm going to give you drugs for funsies because I'm curious, you know? You're messing with somebody who's trying to make a better life for themselves. you know? Like, they're reaching out to the only place that
honestly,
that they're probably getting help.
Yeah. And honestly, what's even more upsetting about that is if you really think about it, a lot of people back then were just shoved into these mental institutions if people's families like didn't know what to do with them, or like they were they were already not the greatest of places. Like they're leaps and bounds better today than they were back then. So on top of that, now they're being targeted for human experimentation.
Yeah. It's just insane. So at this research center, the like doctor that was in charge would bribe them with heroin to perform these experiments, or to go along with these experiments, which was the very thing that a lot of them were there trying to get off of, which is just like sick to me. Like, you're gonna bribe them with the very thing that they're trying to like not let take over them so that you can perform an experiment. Like, that is the most like disgusting human behavior that I see. Is like, I don't know, I don't get it. He would put them in isolation for 77 days with large, like massive doses of LSD daily. They were not sober for that entire 77 days, and then they just watch him. And then at Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, I feel like I say that word every time wrong. It's like Worcestershire sauce. Penitentiary. Penitentiary. Pen. In the pen. They're in the pen. Penitentiary.
There you go.
Penitentiary.
In the pen.
Whatever. In the pen. Yeah, we're going to go within the pen. They would give them also huge amounts of LSD. And put them. Oh, did I say that they were in isolation? They were in isolation too. Then at Atlanta, in the pen in Atlanta, they would give them large amounts of LSD in solitary for 15 months. So 15 months of being in isolation and given huge amounts of LSD daily. Obviously, people went crazy. Like, several went like completely psychotic. I feel like it's completely. I mean, 15 months of isolation and solitary. I don't know if they were ever allowed to interact with other people the whole 15 months or whatever, but regardless, plus huge amounts of LSD, led to people going completely psychotic. Understandably,
right.
Whitey Bulger, who I quoted earlier, he was like the, murderer that volunteered, lucky guy. Instead of them just deciding to do it on him, he got to volunteer. He was one of those that was involved at somehow. I don't know if he was in isolation or whatever, but he was at that jail, apparently. So, all of this to say, there's so much more about this. I feel like I could talk about it for days and days and days, but I don't want to make this podcast a million years long. But I made it through about half my notes.
Yeah.
We could do it. We could add one. I guess if anybody's interested in part 2, I guess let us know or something. Or we could just do it without you wanting us to. And you guys can suck it up.
And something too, I don't think we ever mentioned this, but if Stranger Things is obviously the best show, one of the best on Netflix. If you haven't watched it,
go back and watch it again.
Yeah, it's so good.
If you watched it already, watch it again.
Yeah, rewatch it. And rewatch it with new eyes, because that show was based on MK Ultra.
And lots of other things, right?
And lots of other things, yeah. But the MK Ultra was definitely one of those things. So very very interesting whenever you watch it through that lens.
Yeah, it really is. A little insane. But I think we're going to wrap up there. We're having some technical issues, and so we're just going to end it there.
But yeah, we hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. We definitely enjoyed talking about this type of thing, as well as conspiracy theories. I kind of feel like we didn't get into the conspiracy part of this yet, so I kind of vote that we do a part 2 on it.
Yeah. I feel like we had to go like this is what it is, and then we can get into more, because there's a lot more that I didn't even talk about. So
yeah. So sounds like, guys, we'll have a part 2 for you at some point on MK Ultra.
At some
point. But as we said before, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for sticking around and tuning in. And follow us on our social medias for, more information or just to say hello. We want to talk to you guys. So
heck yeah. All right.
Until next time.
You guys be safe out there.
Bye.
Bye.